So, firstly comes FSMs. So, the main project itself is using the FSM or finite state machines. So, as you can see right now, the basic idea is the main enemy has a game object with states, and those states are obviously separated out individually. The current state it's on is wonder state, that is its default state, but the default state can enter into a chase state, and the attack state, the chase state can go back into the wonder state, and the attack state vice versa back into the chase state, wonder state, whatever is required. It is also is a sort of its transitions, uses a sight sensor. So as you can see here, it's got its chase state active. So it's currently following the player using, for now, just the basic AI system that like Unity implements, but it works. So it just checks collisions with the sight sensor and will carry on. What also happens is it has a little timer behind it, so it obviously just creates the illusion and also shows that, hey, look, it's actually following, and it's not just losing sight immediately. So the next part we go on to is A-star pathfinding. So you'll see on the floor there's a few different colours. These are part of the weighted colours. So the idea is the little seeker or the pathfinder enemy that you can put in will choose the path best to get to you, and the parts on the floor are either designed to slow it down, speed it up, whatever. This also has smoothing implemented, and obviously just the basic A-star algorithm itself. So it's always following you no matter where. As you can see, the little white dot on the floor, it just kind of follows you around, picks the best path and goes, yep, gonna go here. The lines draw out the better curves. Overall, the old project was an interesting challenge to learn and deep dive more into the different systems that Unity allowed for myself to learn and adapt my code into a better refined project. I felt as if parts of the project were confusing or just something that I didn't understand. I felt like not knowing what something does exactly makes a lot more room for stress. My opinion, what went well was at the start of the project I was making sure to get my ideas across and for them to be reviewed and changed into a more suitable project, but nearing the end of the project that fell off and I began to stick to what I had been told before and didn't keep asking questions where they could have been asked. I feel like distractions did play a big part in me not asking the questions, and I focused on too much of the small details of the gameplay over the more important ones like the actual AI systems. Overall, I would change how I myself spend my time on parts of the project. I feel I need to set out project areas more and make it so they're always on my mind or somewhere in sight, and give my own personal weights to them instead of what I used as the traffic system, as the traffic system I implemented didn't seem to stick to my mind, and it's just not something that I followed. I've also learned a lot more overall about Unity and just C# as a whole. My next steps are to just look into creating more of my own projects and seeing where I can implement this kind of AI into them as much as possible. One example I wanted to look into was the Plague Tale rat system. What I wanted to know is just how it works. What I know I do need to do is change how much I take responsibility of my time and overall how the project is done. If I can get it done as early as possible, I can add the smaller things later, and I can pay more attention to the actual main part of the project right at the start. FSMs were a combination of challenging and easy. At one end, the idea of FSMs clicked in my mind, allowing me to understand where transitions come in and how to use them, but my own implementation is where it faltered. I felt as if I allowed the feeling of ease to come too much into play when developing the FSM scripts, as I followed a basic template and changed the code to fit what I needed and moved it so far away from where the template was originally. What went well was the fact that the basic FSM idea worked well, and before I added in the attack state, the states were easily transitioning between the two. Where it slipped was adding the attack state and getting it to swap between the states fast enough so it could make the gameplay still seem seamless. I think my understanding of the Unity system in some parts is where it didn't go well, as I kept slipping up on the smaller parts, like a simple checkbox, but I would keep going for the more complicated solutions instead, which took up time and didn't always work as intended. What I would change is making sure I take a step back, and when I do, I make sure to think of a wide range of solutions instead of just using the first one that comes to mind. I've learned that not everything is as complicated as I set it out to be, and FSMs are the most basic implementation of AI systems. They are something I want to look into a little bit more, as I feel it's a good way to get an understanding of them and how AI systems will look in the future if I decide to make my own. So to me, the A-star pathfinding was the most irritating or challenging. Instead of using the lab that we were provided, I used the tutorial that it was actually based upon, but went from the start to see if I could get a better understanding of what the project was like overall. So I wanted to adapt my understanding of the A-star algorithm overall, and there was a lot more stress involved with the implementation, as a simple slip-up would completely break the code. A good example would be early in writing the code, I mistook a minus symbol for an equal symbol, and the AI started to run in circles and not follow the path. What I realized that when I that went well, what I realized that went well while coding is the mistakes I had. I could either fix myself or I wouldn't get any. To me, this seems like I've made progress when it comes to just writing code overall and just working in game development, as I don't make as many errors as I used to do, especially in other projects. What didn't go well is my stress behind how the code fully works. I understand how it works, I understand the basic systems, I understand what the A-star pathfinding does. I understand that it's obviously finding different systems. It can be adapted into weights, into smooth movement, but overall, just the deeper end of it is still partially confusing to me, even if I looked up the meanings behind something. I'd want to do a lot of this earlier, especially the A-star stuff, so I could take it and kind of make it a lot smaller, take it slower, section by section, seeing what each and every single part does. Next steps is I just want to look into more detail. I want to look into how the A-star pathfinding fully works in terms of what each and every single section does. Not just how A-star works, it's just how the actual classes work together and stuff like that.